it and move this section of the video to the beginning. It's a phrase I learned reading the New York Times during the pandemic. It's BLUF, B-L-U-F. It's an acronym from communications used in the United States military. It stands for bottom line up front. So if you're going to send someone a 3-page memo, don't make them read the 3 pages. Just put the bottom line at the beginning. The bottom line with respect to the Fisker Ocean One is, would you buy it? And should I buy it? Like if you're asking, should I buy that car? You know, if I'm gonna get a car, should I get that one? My answer is this. If I were in the market for a car, and I was in the market for a car at that price point with the car that's roughly that size, I would buy that car in a heartbeat. It is beautiful, it's comfortable, it's wonderful, it's really great, I think, and I obviously I liked it, and I'd get it, right? Now, I'm not in the market for a car because I have my Ioniq 5, which I think is fabulous. It's terrific. Very, very happy with it. I have no complaints whatsoever. So I'm not buying a car. If I were Fisker Ocean One, I'd get that one. Another thing is, should you buy the car? It's kind of the same answer. If you're in the market for a car and that you know hits your metrics, yeah, it's a great car. I think it's lovely. Can't go wrong. There's 2 other. Hi, my name's Bruce, and this is my classroom in the forest. It's my little YouTube channel with absolutely riveting content. If you find yourself liking it, I hope you subscribe. If you don't like it, I'd like you to subscribe. And what the heck, you know, on this one, the reason that I make the videos is because I like them. I mean, I enjoy this. It gives me an opportunity to hear my own voice, which most people, if it comes down to it, maybe you like, well, I think a lot of people like that. I don't know. But today I'm doing a little bit of a follow-up to a video on our cross Canada road trip in the Fisker Ocean One. Well, it wasn't quite cross Canada, but it was from Toronto to Calgary, which is across really the coldest part of Canada at the coldest time of the year. And so I'm going to talk about that because there's been some questions that have come up, and I just thought I'd flesh them out this way rather than any other way. What are the questions? Well, let me try to remember. Yes, winter tires or not winter tires. So we over here, the chalkboard. So this trip we did it with the factory that came with it, all seasons. I do not recommend driving in the wintertime with all seasons. Winter tires are dramatically better. However, my brother, a note on the car. My brother had ordered it a long time ago, and it came, and Fisker offered to deliver it to him in Calgary. That would have been good, but my brother understandably was very excited, and so he traveled to Toronto to get the car. He picked up the car, and then he invited me to help him or come and travel from Toronto to Calgary. Why did he do that? First of all, because we're brothers. Second of all, because if you've been following the channel and if you know me personally, you know that I routinely do long trips we have an Ioniq 5, so I routinely do long trips in that, so I'm quite familiar with charging and winter driving and such. And then in my lifetime, I think I've driven around, I'm going to say 2 million kilometers or stuff like that. It might not be that, but it's some crazy big number. Like it's way more than most people, just because that's it. And I've driven this route that we took several times. I've done it in a motorhome. I've done it in a Honda Civic. I've done it in a diesel cars, other cars, and I'll tell you, at this time of year, well, actually, when I did it in my Honda Civic, it was a challenging trip. I was terrified of running out of gas. I mean, that was a thing. Okay, we were getting down to fumes for sure, and I started carrying a extra can of gasoline with me because I didn't want to run out of gas. Not good. So we embarked on going to make this trip in the Fisker Ocean One. Okay, let's talk about I said we use regular tires, and some other questions about metrics. And if you follow my channel, you'll know that I practice a version of math and calculations called close enough, conversational arithmetic. And anyone that's going to do conversational arithmetic is not Mr. Precision with the metrics. So the important metric on this trip is this one. It's minus 26 Celsius. That's not very good there. Minus 26 Celsius. That kept showing up. That was the cold. That was as cold as it was, and it was like that for a good hunk. And then what was the least cold was minus 16 Celsius. Okay, so minus 26 Celsius, I think at one point I miscalculated. Minus 26 Celsius is something like minus 15 or something like that Fahrenheit, if you happen to live in the land of Fahrenheit. Minus 16, I think that's somewhere around 5 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that. That was the warmest. That was it. So we're traveling in the car, and cars don't go as far in the wintertime or in the cold as they do in the not cold. That's true of every car. So anyway, travel along. We're very conservative in our driving, in that when we had an opportunity to charge, generally we took it. The lowest battery percentage that we got, I think, was 18%. And the reason for that is because the whole point is you don't want. This wasn't a stunt. This was a genuine trip, and we wanted to avoid drama. The cold plan, no excitement. That was it. I mean, it was exciting enough without adding this thing of trying to see how low you can make the battery go. It's madness. So there's that. Now, another point is how much did it cost? How much energy did you use? Oh, this is a good one. I'm going to go to another panel here. I'll draw it. This is the map. Okay, so this is Canada. So over here, that is Newfoundland. That is Cape Breton like this, Nova Scotia. It was up like this, New Brunswick, Quebec. Quebec's enormous. Ontario is extremely enormous, and you have other provinces, So we went from like Toronto, Ontario to Calgary, and the question is, well, how far is it? Okay, so the distance was it's around 3,500 kilometers. Or I think it's about 2,250 miles. Okay, and remember, minus 26 Celsius, minus 16 Celsius, that's a thing. Now, in Canada, energy and a bunch of other stuff is the domain of the province, okay? And the provincial premiers have it kind of good, because when things go well, they can say, hey, look, things are going well, and they take credit. And when things are going bad, they can, in the domain of energy or the other areas that they're responsible for, when things are going bad, they can say, oh, it's the federal government. They blame it on the other guy. That's a thing. Politics, it happens. But anyway, the distance. The distance is 20,250 miles. So there's a broad. Charging is not the same all across Canada because of this province idea. So in the province of Quebec, there are high-speed DC chargers like everywhere. They're so frequent you're tripping over the cords. There's corners that have one on every corner. It's just not an issue. You drive along, it never in a million years occurs to you, can I charge? You're worried about it because there's one like usually just around the next corner. You're fine. Additionally, the province of Quebec is committed to installing an additional 110,000 charging plugs over like the next 4 years or something like that. That's an aside. Ontario is another story. So this route that we took across northern Ontario, the charging is sparse. And there were a couple of sections that were maybe like, theoretically could have been like 350 kilometers between chargers. Fortunately, that didn't quite happen because if you follow the video, the thing in Wawa, the Wawa thing worked. Okay, now that charging. So what was it? It was like, it cost us like about $400 in charging. There you go. Someone else might mention, oh, Tesla. You should have done a Tesla. Well, but the car wasn't a Tesla. So we didn't do it in a Tesla. We could have, except that the reality is that at those temperatures, it would have been a challenge in most Teslas, I think. That's my belief. It's not like a fact. I didn't do a test on this. I didn't get a Tesla and drive that journey. My brother also owns a Tesla. Okay, so there's that. Now, one little hiccup that happened is the windshield wiper fluid in the car froze. So we did the journey without having working windshield wiper fluid. So that is a negative. The reason for that apparently is that Fisker has shipped the cars with kind of a normal kind of summer windshield wiper fluid, and minus 26 degrees Celsius is not summer. And it froze, and that was bad, and it precipitated a couple other little negatives, but that's okay. Another question. Okay, the version of the software of the car that we drove had not the most recent. We had an older version of software, so a bunch of stuff was not present. Apple CarPlay was not present, Android Auto was not present, an odometer that would tell you how far you'd gone since charging was not present. We didn't have any information about average kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers or the energy consumption. That was not present. There. Another one was missing was adaptive cruise control. We did not have adaptive cruise control. These things are all coming now, and I have some experience with this because when I purchased my Ioniq 5, there was a bunch of stuff that was not present. That is present now. It's come through software updates, and that's great. And one of those things, it's a big one, is battery heating or precondition. Battery precondition. Now, what is that? Battery precondition. Well, when you charge a battery or use a battery in general, it's an electrochemical battery, so it's an electrochemical process. Charging a battery is kind of a chemical reaction, and the rates of that reaction are dependent upon the state of the materials or the temperature. So when you're going to charge the car, Tesla does this nicely, and my Ioniq 5 does it very, very nicely, as do most cars do. I think. Correct me. I don't drive most cars. I drive my car. But so what happens is if you drive along and it's minus 26 degrees Celsius, then what happens is the battery winds up being about minus 26 degrees Celsius, thereabouts. It's cold. I don't know how cold exactly, but it's cold. And then when you go to charge it, it charges, I don't want to use the word slowly, but it doesn't charge really fast because it's limited by this factor. So this battery preconditioning that is not present at the moment in the Fisker Ocean One limits the capacity to high-speed charge, limits the rate. So if you're following the video and you saw that we were getting charging rates of like 50 kilowatts or the highest be like 70 kilowatts, it's not the charger. Generally, it's the car because the battery is cold. Now, this battery preconditioning will come via a software update because the hardware is there to do this, but the car at the moment that we had the car did not do that. My Ioniq 5, when I bought it, did not do that. That came later via the software update, and let me tell you, the difference is night and day. Okay, so like for example, on a 350 kilowatt Electrify Canada or Electrify America charger or a Petro-Canada charger, before I had battery preconditioning, in the wintertime I would get like 45 kilowatts of charging, similar to what you saw in our Fisker Ocean One trip. Oh, once again, my name's Bruce McNeil. Take a second and subscribe. Thank you very much. Similar to what you saw in the Fisker. After this battery preconditioning thing was installed, I would get like 240 kilowatts. Like it's like 5 times better. So, and 5 times better is a big deal. It's the difference between waiting 40 minutes for the car to charge and waiting 12 minutes. It's kind of cool. So the battery preconditioning thing, I mentioned the windshield wiper fluid. Someone mentioned that I looked cold. I was cold because, well, it's very, very cold outside. They should have said I should be wearing warmer clothes, which is absolutely true. But this trip had basically zero planning. My brother got the car and we went. I found out about it like the day before. For whatever reason, I was in Toronto. The clothing that you see me wearing now was not with me, and my hat, I didn't have my good warm hat. And but you know, heck, you just go for it. I mean, the courier, you know, the Courrier de Bois, they would leave Quebec City in a canoe loaded with stuff, and they were doing the same journey. They were going in their canoe loaded with stuff 150, 200, 300 years ago, whatever it was, and they were going to Calgary, which is something that blows my mind. I can't imagine that. That's real. I'm not making that. This is true. Anyway, that's an aside, but it's a journey. Okay, so I talked about this metric. It's $400. The battery preconditioning, no. We're on all season tires. I didn't have enough clothes on. What else was there? A lack of adaptive cruise control. Someone said, what chargers did not work? We had one like fail to charge. That was in Regina, Saskatchewan, and it was at a flow charger at the Saskatchewan Power head office. Go figure this. Saskatchewan Power head office, they have two 100 kilowatt flow chargers, and I was not able to get them to charge. I want to say that is a complete anomaly. It's a complete freak. I've charged on flow zillions of times, not zillions, but hundreds. And they always just work. I've never ever had a problem before. I'm suspicious of this problem because there might have been something hinky going on. Okay, that happens sometimes. But that's it. Everywhere else we plugged in, we were able to get the thing to charge. Actually, maybe we might have had to do like the next one over, but in general, got the thing to charge, including a couple of spots that was looking bleak, and then it worked. Okay, and that's a function of this idea of availability. It has nothing to do with the car. That's like this variability of charging among the provinces. So in the province of Quebec, there's loads of charging. Ontario is getting much better. Alberta is coming along. Manitoba is coming along, and Saskatchewan's coming along. Everywhere's coming along, except that if you had to quantify it, and you can, PlugShare will let you kind of look at how many chargers are in a given area by plug and all kinds of stuff like this. Maybe I'll do some screenshots and put them in this video, but maybe I won't. But Quebec has an abundance of charging, and they have announced 110,000 additional plugs in the next 3 years or something like that. And that's the really, that's awesome. That's the correct step. Oh yeah, this is the second time I made this video because I had like a kind of an audio problem in the first one. So if this one seems a little too rehearsed, then I apologize for that. And if it seems not rehearsed enough, you get what you get. What the heck was I going to say? Geez, I never draw that big of a blank, but occasionally I must confess I do draw a blank. Oh yes, I may edit and move this section of the video to the beginning. It's a phrase I learned reading the New York Times during the pandemic. It's BLUF, B-L-U-F. It's an acronym from communications used in the United States military. It stands for bottom line up front. So if you're going to send someone a 3-page memo, don't make them read the 3 pages. Just put the bottom line at the beginning. The bottom line with respect to the Fisker Ocean One is, would you buy it? And should I buy it? Like if you're asking, should I buy that car? You know, if I'm going to get a car, should I get that one? My answer is this. If I were in the market for a car, and 2 other points. One has to do with temperature. Again, were we comfortable? The answer is yes. We drove along mostly in earth mode, and even when it was, remember I said it's minus 26. Did I say that? Minus 26 Celsius. It's minus 26 Celsius. We're driving along in this car, and it has a solar roof. It's kind of a see-through roof. So here we're going to do a little bit of heat and mass transfer, a little thermodynamics for if you want to really geek out on stuff. I'll draw a diagram. This is a car. That's a car, okay? It's my picture of a car. This picture may remind you of a picture of a python after they've just eaten an elephant, if you're familiar with the movie or the book, The Little Prince. But it's in this case, it's a picture of a car. The car is traveling this direction at 100 kph. I'm going to do an aside for a second. Someone said, well, how fast did you go? We generally went at like 100 kilometers per hour, at 64 miles per hour. Sometimes we went 110 miles per hour, which is like 110 kilometers, which is 70 miles an hour. And then a couple times to conserve energy, because of this question about, well, how far is the next charger really? We drive 85. Right about 80, 85, just, and the stereo, the audio is great. We're having a great time. Enjoyed it. So anyway, 100 kilometers an hour. Imagine that. 100 kilometers an hour. 100 kilometers is 100,000 meters an hour. So 100,000 divided by 36 is a number like 35. 35 meters per second. Okay. So effectively, you have this wind going this way at 35 meters per second. That air is minus 26 degrees Celsius. Minus 26 degrees Celsius. It's passing over this glass panel that's in the roof. This glass panel, I think it's about 2 meters by 3 meters, so it's 6 meters squared. So the question is, well, how much energy is going from the car, which is 21 degrees Celsius, out to the air, which is 26 degrees Celsius, that's going across there? The answer is tons, lots and lots and lots. So the net benefit of this solar panel roof in climates where you're going to drive at these conditions, and no one drives in these conditions, practically no one. And if you do, it's an anomalous occurrence. It doesn't happen all the time. But at minus 26 degrees Celsius, the solar roof, it had frost on the inside. It was cold, okay, minus 26 degrees Celsius. Now, another observation is when it got to, when it warmed up to minus 16 degrees Celsius or minus 18 degrees Celsius, that frost disappeared, okay? In both of those situations, we were comfortable, and that's it. So the consideration of this solar roof is kind of a geez, I don't know. Or maybe the implementation of it could be better. Like they could have like a layer of opaque insulation on the inside, or something would be possibly better. That would be good. Another question that came up had to do with the accumulation of on the back of the car. I'm trying to find a way to draw this out so it makes sense. But so on the back, what happens is, if we're going to do it, this is another picture of the car. This is the car also. So this wind is going this way. The car is going this way. Okay, 35 meters per second. Okay. And it's snowing. I mean, it's snowing now. Snow is just a thing. It's nice. I like snow. So cars are going that way. So effectively, the wind's going that way. There's a thing that happens in aerodynamics, fluid mechanics. It's you get what's called I don't know if it's called this. So I call it an adverse pressure gradient. So what happens is this wind kind of goes this way, and then the pressure here at this point makes the wind in this localized area here actually go in this opposite direction. So if you happen to be flying in a Boeing 737 MAX on WestJet or something, and you look out and you see at the end of the wings there's like winglets, like they go up. And one of the reasons they go up has a little bit of this phenomena. But so the pressure goes that way. So we were driving through the snow for hours and hours and hours and hours at 100 kilometers per hour. And it was the real snow. I mean, this was a road that's not traveled that much. It's quite a bit. Mostly it's trucks. And so we're going through the snow, and this idea, this pressure gradient. So over time, the snow kind of accumulated on the back of the car, And then the net result was we couldn't not see out the car because it also covered this rear view camera, that affair. So you couldn't see out that. And so that was kind of a negative, except that I think that that's another one of these things that in the real world wouldn't happen that much. This thing about the rear view camera, in the rear view mirror, you can choose it to have as a mirror or as a camera. We're not that big a fan of that. It didn't work as well as you would think. It could be better. Is it a deal breaker? I think no. It's still fine, but it's not like wow, that's awesome. I mean, when you explain to someone, it sounds like wow, that's awesome. Except as a practical matter, it's less awesome than wow, that's awesome. Okay, so it was that. Someone mentioned this. I don't think this would be a deal breaker. I have some video of my Ioniq 5, the same accumulation of snow happening, but at a much lesser extent because it happened over a span of 15 minutes as opposed to 12 or 16 hours. That's it. I don't know. My name's Bruce, so I make these videos because what the heck, you know, it's like scratching on the wall of a cave or something. I enjoy it. Thank you. If you watch this thing, thank you very much. If you watch the other video, thank you very much. If you could subscribe, I like it when people subscribe. I gotta confess, I didn't think I'd like it as much as I do, but what the heck? Everyone likes to think that there's someone listening to them. That's it. And you know, and I must say, in general, everyone's very, very nice in the comments. Another question that might have come up is, "Oh, were you happy with the trip?" I'd say, "Yeah, thrilled." Oh, and what was the best thing that happened on that road trip? The best thing was we're in Uppsala, Ontario, and it was very, very cold. Well, it was much colder than it is right here, right now. And I'll tell you, right here, right now, it's not exactly tropical. So it was very, very cold, and I was getting the charger to go. Then it was a bit of a walk across this epic parking lot because it's actually kind of like a truck stop. So I go into the place, and I walk in. My brother says to me, "Would you like a beef barley soup?" As it turns out, they had
beef barley soup.
kind of a serve yourself affair on a table, and beef barley soup. You could get some beef barley soup, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And then I'm having this beef barley soup, and I was really cold. And you know, one thing is I actually kind of like sometimes being cold because it reminds you that, goodness gracious, you're alive. But this was well past that point. I had this beef barley soup, and it was positively delicious. You know, I really and that was a very good point of the trip. Another good point was, you know, I got to do it with my brother, and I don't see him as much as really I'd like to. It's called life. You know, it happens, and we have to deal with our lives and our problems and our opportunities and such, and we all do that. And so spending time with my brother, that was pretty good. And seeing his family again, that was pretty good. And then if you notice, there wasn't a whole heck of a lot of time between getting to Calgary and getting back to my classroom in the forest here, because like I said, we're all dealing with our lives and our challenges and our opportunities and such, and there you are. Anyway, wow, you know, yeah, I guess I have it. I can go on a bit. That happens. So my name's Bruce. Thanks for watching. I hope you find this very exciting content exciting enough that you're gonna subscribe and stuff. Thank you very much. Again, bye.